Hey, it's Dan Harlan. I am here with Roberto Giobbi. How are you?
Hey, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing good. We're talking about Card College Light, which is the first volume in the trilogy of the Professional Card Magic Without Sleight of Hand.
That's it, yes.
So right off the top, reading the subtitle, we know that there's no sleight of hand involved in the magic that's in here. And before we talk too much about the book, let's actually see one of the tricks. I asked you specifically to show this one because I like the principle that it's based on, but you have a really nice presentation for it.
That the principle it's based on allows for a vast open architecture, many presentations. So here's an idea.
Right.
This is a pack with 52 cards, obviously, our favorite instrument, and I'm going to ask you to give it a good shuffle, of course.
Okay.
But I'd like you to do the shuffle.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so the cards are arranged in a haphazard order dictated by the shuffle of one single individual.
It's all right if I cut the cards?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay,
correct. Now I'm going to make a prediction. Before we start with anything else, I'm going to do a prediction. I'm going to take a card and this one. I'm going to put this aside. Okay. Now, many people think a prediction is a question of paranormal abilities. Well, it's not. It's actually only a question of being able to travel forward in time, look what happens there, and then come back. With a watch you can stop that.
Right.
And the fact that this is true is that I'm now back again here. You can see. Yes?
Okay.
You can touch me.
Yeah, there you are.
Now here's my prediction. I'm going to put my watch around it, sort of as a silent testimony. Now, you've shuffled the cards thoroughly, you've even cut them.
Sure.
Please, would you take the pack and we will proceed in the timeline now. Please deal cards one after the other, that's right, and go ahead, and we're going to construct a timeline, and you're going to be the architect of the timeline, which means you can stop at any point.
Okay. I probably should have dealt more slowly.
No.
Now we've got a lot of cards, but I deal pretty quick. I'm going to stop there.
Now, of course, the time. Here we have the present. The present, which, I've seen in the future. Now, the timeline is divided, of course, in past and future events.
Okay.
So for this, I would like you to deal a card each, which is symbolized correctly. This will symbolize the future and the past.
Okay. Yep. And do I?
That's right.
Stop it.
You go ahead. It's
okay. I'm acting like I've never seen it before.
No, I mean it's
one of my
well, you've never seen me do this.
I've never seen you do it.
You've seen this before, And of course, you see there is a triangle here now, which is constructed by the past, the future, and the present, which is still, I took that out before. Now, we don't know in what order the cards were because you shuffled them. We don't know which cards are where because you stopped on the timer when you like. Well, let's turn over the top card of each because that clue is, that's a 7. It could be a 4, it could be a king, but it is a
7.
A 7. So that gives us a clue to a value, a 7. And then we have a suit. It could be a heart, a club, depending on how you shuffled, when you stopped. Everything was in your hands.
Right.
The past and the future, the present is mine. And if it's true what I said, that I could go into the future, see what was happening, and coming back, and now the future moment has become the present, this is exactly your card.
The 7 of diamonds. Absolutely.
And we are back in time.
Yeah.
Back to the future.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, it's great because like all of the effects in here, you have given it a justification for the process because we've talked about this, that these kinds of magic effects require process in general, and a lot of it is dependent on what the spectator does. They have to be directed to do the right things at the right time and that kind of stuff.
I mean, the lack of sleight of hand has to be compensated either by a mathematical principle, a psychological principle, a topological principle, or a combination of that.
Right.
And which usually means doing some things which require a justification, and the justification, one of the best ways is to include it as a part of a dramatic construction. So you have to come up, and that automatically gives you a plot. Now a plot automatically gives you a prologue, a lead-in. which is interesting, fascinating. Then it evolves, there is some kind of conflict, expectation, the resolution, and you have an epilogue. So we have wonderful construction. That's the professional construction of a good trick. Now, whether this is a relatively simple trick from an operational point of view, or a complex because it has, a lot of sleight of hand, doesn't matter. The foundation, the basic principles remain the same.
Sure. To make it interesting for people, the basic principles are the same, even though we are dealing without sleight of hand, which in a way is a great thing because it allows the performer to be able to relax and concentrate on that presentation. A lot of people, when they do magic without sleight of hand and they don't have a presentation, then there really doesn't seem like any involvement for them as a performer. They're missing it, and you're giving them the advice, the proper ways to invest themselves into the performance.
I try to talk about these things which normally, very often not even in complex magic books, the author write about that, but very rarely do they write about so-called self-working card trick, about the aspects, how to relate with a spectator, how to construct a story, how to come up with an original presentation, how to justify that. I mean, teach to look at the procedure or the effect from the point of view of the spectator. Because we are always involved in the method, how to do, what to say, but it's at every moment we are saying or doing something, it's important to realize and to know and to ask, how does the spectator witness this? What's his experience? And only by consciously using tools, words, actions, body language, bits and pieces, do we become the architects of the false reality we are constructing in the mind of the spectators. And it is this fiction. I mean, art is about fiction and communication. So I talk about fiction, I talk about communication, but I don't do it in an academic style.
Right.
There are no theory chapters here. It's tricks, it's presentations. I really go to the practical thing, but you will learn with it, you get it with it, you will install strategies and procedures and ways of looking at magic that normally you don't do if you just follow simple instruction books. So that's why I decided eventually to call it professional card magic without sleight of hand, and just end this thing by quoting Fernando Pessoa, a famous Portuguese poet. He said, "The moon reflects in the large ocean, but also in the smallest puddle," which is a metaphor to say that, of course, you can see the genius of a magician in very complex, big and difficult pieces, but you can put the same genius also in smaller tricks, and by doing that, they still become important experience and performance pieces. And that's what I've tried to do with my light books.
Yeah, and you have succeeded. I wanted to take a moment to leaf through it because it's also a beautifully produced book. Illustrations absolutely perfectly, beautifully clean.
I tried to put on every page
wonderful,
at least
wonderful,
one or two illustrations,
because
that lightens the text. It really gives it double sense.
Yeah, right. And then beyond that, the organization of the information in here is great. You have in here 7 routines. Each routine has 3 effects in it. You get a beginning, an opening, middle routine, and closing routine. So if somebody were to get this
7 full routines.
7 full routines.
7 full routines, each consisting of 3 tricks, which are in different categories of phenomena.
Yep.
So you start maybe with a production, a transposition, and end with a mind reading.
Yeah. You could honestly, if you've never even done card tricks before, as long as you can handle a deck of cards, you can deal them and shuffle them proficiently enough, it could turn you into a card magician very, very quickly just by learning these routines. I think it's a fantastic book for anybody starting out, but honestly, regardless of your level of skill, even if you're a full-time professional and you maybe even already do some of these things, you're going to see a different way of presenting them, and the wisdom of Roberto here. You will benefit by getting the light book, Professional Card Magic Without Sleight of Hand. You'll absolutely love it. It should be in everybody's library. Thank you so much for bringing
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
Thank you.